Columnist Janice Turner has turned down a Women's Voice Award at a recent award ceremony because she felt accepting it would let down the many talented female human beings, I quote her, writing for British newspapers. There were no men's equivalents presented at the same ceremony, nor did she actually put herself forward for that award. That's why she declined. But there are many awards ceremonies, including Women of the Year awards, the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction, where the entrants are only allowed to be female. But do we still need women-only awards? Is it important in the field you work in, or is it unfair? Considering I'm trying to get women who've never rung a radio station before, this does seem like your moment, does it not? 0500 909 693 or send me a text on 85058. Angela Epstein is a journalist and columnist for The Telegraph and describes herself as a non-feminist. Hello, Angela.
I do. Good morning, Emma.
And we've got Emma Sinclair on the line, a London-based entrepreneur who co-founded the software company Enterprise Jungle, who's won numerous of these women-only awards. Emma, welcome to the programme.
Hi, Emma. Hi, Angela.
So, first, let me go to Angela. Women-only awards. From being a non-feminist, I'm guessing you're not a fan.
No, I'm not. I think they're entirely counter-intuitive and counterproductive. I don't want a separate pat on the head or what Peter Preston called positive desperation. I think the whole...
Peter Preston being the former editor of The Guardian.
And also actually Janice Turner's father-in-law.
Ah, it's a small world.
It's a very small
the newspaper world. Go on.
It is indeed. But the fact is that obviously anything that involves important conversations about equality of opportunity for women, such as sexual objectification, equality of pay in the workplace, these are conversations we should all be having. They're not just women's issues. And I think that to distinguish achievement based on a woman's voice actually sets back the cause of women. It's almost like feminism, and this is why I say I'm a non-feminist, is spoiling for an argument. It dates back to the, I don't know if you remember the argument about having Jane Austen on a banknote. I'd rather think about how many banknotes I've got in my pocket. Am I getting the same as my male colleague? So to spoil for arguments over, oh, well, we have to have a separate little award with a pat on the head. I don't want that. I want it to be a meritocracy, and that's what feminism and the sisterhood should be all about.
Emma Sinclair, you've won some of these women-only awards. Do you feel like you had a separate pat on the head?
Hi, Emma. I don't think I did. I think there are two things here. I think there's a difference between women-only awards and a women's category at general awards. I do think that there's something outdated about a women's category at a general awards ceremony, which is where Janice turned down her award. But, you know, there's a Sheryl Sandberg quote that comes to mind whenever I have a debate like this with somebody across a table. And that's, in the future, there will be no female leaders, there will just be leaders. And I don't see myself as a female entrepreneur. I see myself as an entrepreneur. That will do me just fine. And of course, the end goal is to have a level playing field amongst the genders. But right now we don't. And women are outnumbered by men in the talent pool, in the workplace, on boards, in venture capital. So there's definitely a place for identifying role models as far as I'm concerned.
So that's why it's still got a place, because we aren't at an even playing field yet.
Unequivocally, and these awards, they aim to recognise pioneers, trailblazers, women who push boundaries in different areas of business, in different areas of life. And quite often when I'm talking to young women, they say that you have to be able to see it to be it, and I can really understand that.
Let me bring back in Angela then. What about that? You have to see it to be it. Lots of areas. So put aside this particular writing award. Let's talk about areas where there may be a difference, and you actually are catching up, you could say, from the beginning of time with men. You know, only recently were you even allowed as a woman to go out, vote, have your own bank account, have a credit card. That came under Margaret Thatcher. I mean, seriously, there's some time in terms of needing to catch up with men, so why not awards in those areas?
Well, look, I think all the great battles upon which the suffrage movement was established, and I went to a school where one of the alumni of the suffragettes, went to my school. I believe went to your school as well. But the fact is, I think all the great battles have been won. You know, we have the vote. We can go to university. We have a female prime minister, our second female prime minister. Women politically right across the world every day. We see women making great strides in huge avenues, and certainly in the era of social media, where everything is visible, where we can hear, where we can see, we have globalization. We don't need sort of award ceremonies to say
in any field
for women, and aren't they doing well, unless they're doing something that men aren't doing. So, for example, the so-called mumpreneurs. You have women who out of choice stay at home to raise their children. I mean, biology didn't make us unequal; it made us different. So they choose to. And then you have these kitchen table entrepreneurs who do incredible things. Yes, that's a very specific sort of category. But just to say a woman writer who has the same skill set as a man needs a separate award, or any awards, I know we're not just focusing on that, seems entirely, as I said, counterproductive. And I think it's a retrograde step. I don't think it's advancing the cause of the sisterhood. It's just reminding people that, oh, women, we're separate, we're different, and we need a label. And I think if feminism is all about dispelling the label and providing equality of opportunity, how on earth can women's only awards do this? I mean, Emma's obviously...
Is there a space for anything just for women in your world?
In my
world, it
world,
sounds very rose-tinted spectacles, Ange. I mean,
well,
I have to say,
hang
I
on a
heard
second.
everything you
Well,
said.
let me answer the question.
Well, hang on,
Emma.
actually, no, I want to hear Emma Sinclair. Sorry, just come back on that. Rose-tinted spectacles. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I heard what Angela said, and I would say that in my early 20s, I probably would have concurred. And I remember saying this to people in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, and them sort of shaking their head and tutting at me and saying, I used to think that in my 20s and early 30s too. I think it's a wonderful thing to think the world is a level playing field. And, you know, Emma, you started Wonder Woman from the Telegraph, and I remember reading articles about statistics about women in business and thinking this can't possibly be true. The maths has to be wrong. It cannot possibly be this swayed. You know, for me alone, I operate in a technology world, in the funding world. 7% of VC funding goes to women, 6% of venture capitalists are females. It just isn't the level playing field that Angela hopes and aspires it to be. And the most important thing that I want to say, because we all need networks, is these women's awards, even for role models themselves, create great networks. They create people with like-minded experiences, camaraderie. They're interesting and helpful. They have the added benefit of, you know, they provide a robust network for other women. So, Angela, unfortunately, I'd love for what you are saying to be the case, but I just don't think it's true at all.
And
I think
in your opinion,
most businesswomen would agree.
In your
Absolutely,
opinion,
most businesswomen,
opinion.
I think, would agree.
Well,
Angela?
Well, okay, so look, I'm not in my 20s, I'm in my 40s, I'm a mother of 4, I've had a career, I've raised a family. I'd like to think that I've got enough experience and I'm a little long in the tooth to be able to have interviewed, experienced, met with, encountered women, many women like yourself, Emma, and
Other Emma.
And an answer to Emma number 1 sort of question, are there places for distinguishing women in my world, which suggests sort of I'm naive? No. I want to live in a meritocracy. I have a daughter.
But what if you don't? Yeah. What if you don't?
Well, if I don't, then I want to strive for that to happen. I want my daughter, who is only 12, to grow up in a world where she is recognised for what she can achieve, not because she was born with a set of ovaries.
I want that for her.
Well, hang on a
Angela.
second. Now, I listen to you, Emma. And the problem is that the sisterhood, and I've had this when I've had these debates before, the Twitterati come out in force and somehow regard me as some kind of somebody who is guilty of not supporting the fairer sex. I remember one particularly well-known woman, after I had this debate on Newsnight, said she'd like to kick me in the shins for my views on non-feminism.
Nobody's saying that to you here.
I understand that, but
Angela, I'm going to have to wrap it up. I'm so sorry. I've got to get